All right, we move on. Regular viewers, yep, I'm talking about you three out there. You'll know that here at This Week we like a drink or two, or 11. I doubt much would get done here without a drop of the hard stuff, though the camera work would probably be a little less shaky. And Diane and Michael, they've just walked off the job. I'm not going to talk about the light, so we'll go dark as well. Diane and Michael wouldn't slur as much, that's for sure, if they didn't drink as much. But should our politicians be trying to make us lay off the sauce? After all, we Brits have been drinkers for yonks. Getting people to cut back would involve a massive cultural shift, and think of the consequences. Blue Nun would go out of business for a start. Many of us thought it already was when we began the joke. And let's face it, programmes like ours would die a slow death, because people like you would be sober enough to find the zapper and change channels. So this week, we put drinking in the spotlight. Many of us drink too much. Alcohol misuse costs the English healthcare system almost £3 billion per year. With society paying the price for heavy drinking, how do we curb our over-enthusiastic boozing? A return to 1920-style prohibition? The Scottish Government thinks it's found a less drastic way forward. This week outlining plans to end cheap deals and impose a minimum price per unit. But is all this one big overreaction? Why does booze always seem to get such a bad press? Not everyone ends up like this after a tipple. An evening down the pub surely ranks as one of life's great pleasures, and a drink or two has fueled many a creative idea. Perhaps it's time our leaders worried a little less and trusted us a little more. Booze, drink, time for a tipple. We're joined by Stewart Lee. Welcome to the programme.
Thanks for having us.
Aren't our politicians right to try and get us to try and cut down on how much we drink as a nation?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends how you interpret the information, doesn't it? In that, it said that the alcohol abuse costs us $3 billion a year. But
you never quite know where that figure comes from.
It's come from, and also there's not a counter figure of saying what does it gain. You know, I mean, people talk. Well, people talk about the expense of lost days of work because people were too drunk to turn up. But how many people are only in work? They can only get through it because of the promise of Friday night and a weekend. I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious. I think there may be a lot of actual financial benefits to alcohol, and certainly it seems bizarre that it should be Scotland that would be making these sort of restrictions. Because I mean, in the 80s, when I first went up to Scotland, it seemed like an incredibly civilised place, precisely because of
its reform of the licensing laws was ahead of England at the time.
It was, yeah, it was ahead of it. I mean, to be not involved in that crazed race towards last orders in a Scottish pub seemed like a very civilised thing.
And doesn't Scotland show the absurdity when politicians start getting involved in this and they start to try and micromanage our habits? I mean, in Scotland now, you've effectively got politicians going round the off-lices, putting sticker prices on each unit of alcohol.
Yes, I think that is absurd. I am nonetheless quite worried about us as a country. I think we do drink too much. I think it is a great pity to go to many of our towns and cities on a Friday and Saturday night and see the streets absolutely full of drunk people. I think it's a shame for people who aren't drunk and therefore feel that they can't go there because they feel intimidated.
That might be a policing problem.
There's
a problem with a lot of English people's attitude to drink. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but in France and in Italy, they can go out,
even in New York,
they can go out, have a drink and enjoy themselves. Whereas the British seem to feel they have to drink till they vomit.
That's why I wonder what these measures would do, right? Because they seem to be not addressing the root cause of it, which is if alcohol's it makes people lose their inhibitions. So what does it tell us about how people feel that when they are allowed to get a load of cheap alcohol, they become antisocial in this way. And maybe there's some other problem. The alcohol is actually an indicator of the problem.
The English have been notorious for
Yeah.
their attitude to drink, going back
the
to the
Brits have
19th
not just
century.
the British have been mature.
Well, the English,
What about
the English are the
Brits?
worst, aren't they? I mean, like the drunk Scottish.
Glasgow on a Friday
Yeah,
night.
but I have. I've been on stage.
You've
in
been in
Glasgow on a
Sucky
Friday
Hall
night. It's
Street?
much worse.
And you live to tell the tale.
In fact, yeah. But I mean, the sort of Scottish. The Scottish football fan abroad is welcomed as an ambassador of fun, aren't they? Whereas there's something about English drunkenness is peculiarly hostile, I think. But it's not a new thing. And you know, you can look back to Hogarth's Gin Lane and all those things like Samuel Pepys's diaries, where he says, "Got up 7 o'clock in the morning, had my normal pint of sherry, followed by
Sounds like my type of man.
Yeah, it's a historical thing. And I don't know what these. I
But
don't know
let me
what this
just
sort
say,
of
it is
legislation will do.
possible, though, to change social habits.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, I've seen attitude to smoking completely transformed.
Yeah.
That's true.
Completely transformed, and that was political action.
So why can't we manage that with alcohol?
Well, the attitudes that have been changed by using the law. So that's kind of a circular argument, because I thought a moment ago you were arguing against changing the prices. I mean, smoking and drinking and driving the social attitudes were changed by changing the law.
What about the benefits of alcohol? I don't think we talk enough about that. I mean, in your business, among comedians, I'm sure a lot of the material is a product of having a few drinks, maybe even a few of the performances.
Well, the comedian Arthur Smith always had a maxim. He said that a comedian should be one drink ahead of his audience. Although, since he said that, he's been forced to stop drinking by doctor's advice. So maybe
That's because he's been performing in Glasgow.
But I don't know. I think that a lot of places. This may be to do with economic and social benefits of drinking. A lot of places are more convivial and are better to be in because of the alcohol present. It's funny you should mention smoking. When I filmed the pilot of the new stand-up show I'm doing for BBC Two, which is in like a club environment, in the pilot, which was 2 years ago, after the smoking ban, the director felt it necessary to pump false smoke into the
to create the atmosphere.
Yeah, because it didn't look right, because there was still the memory
it's
of
not stand-up comedians that are improved by a drink. There have been some chancellors who allegedly, in the glass in front of them when they were reading the budget speech, had
whiskey and water.
Have whiskey and water.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine British politics, let's narrow it down, Westminster politics, functioning without alcohol?
Very hard, because so much business is done in bars.
Yeah, but I felt in the 20 years I was in the House of Commons that drinking went down enormously.
Yeah.
Well, the first night I arrived there, I remember seeing poor George Brown, who by then, was he in the House of Lords by then? Anyway, he was absolutely drunk, and I was taken aside by a member who said, "You watch yourself, young man, otherwise you'll end up like that." I mean, it was a place of terrible drunkenness at the time I first
I
went
think
there.
drinking's gone down in society in some areas and up in others. I mean, when I was doing temping jobs in offices in the 80s, after lunch on Friday, nothing would be achieved, and people felt happy about being visibly drunk at work.
That was true most days in a lot of newspapers in the old days
well,
too.
yeah, it would be frowned upon now.
There's less drinking at lunchtime in business lunches
Even
as well.
at Trade Unions Congress, they've cut out drink at lunchtime. When I heard this, I was shocked.
I mean, although we see the examples of alcohol in the pictures we showed late at night in our city centres, in the city, in business, in journalism and in politics, I would say drinking's a lot less than it was 30 years ago.
And maybe it's therefore pushed it out into the Friday evening thing.
Yeah, into a mad rush at the weekend.
Now, you've got a new show coming out. It's on BBC Two on Monday.
Monday week at 10 o'clock.
And it's called?
Stewart Lee's Comedy Vehicle, but don't drive it while under the influence. Yeah,
will you have a little drink before you...
Before I sit and watch it? Before I go?
I will.
Well, as a stand-up comedian, it's unusual for me to be sober at this time of night. So
well, I'm glad that you are, because we're going to have a quiz tonight, and they will need some help.
Oh,
but in these days of compliance, before we start, I just need to check that our panellists are eligible to take part. We do that now in the BBC, you've probably noticed, especially if you claim to have been at Oxford University. Not that it matters with these two Cambridge imposters here. They won't know the answers anyway, Stuart, I promise you. I'm sure you all know it's World Book Day. You didn't know? I'm not surprised. Anyway, we've got two of the best-read pundits on TV. One reads the Beano, the other the Dandy. So we thought we'd play... No, it's actually called Name That Book. CBeebies presenter, Kerry Burnell, does the honours. Take it away, this is our first book.
Day by day, and almost minute by minute, the past was brought up to date. In this way, every prediction made by the party could be shown by documentary evidence to have been correct. nor was any item of news or any expression of opinion which conflicted with the needs of the moment ever allowed to remain on record.
OK, what book was that?
Animal Farm?
No,
Wrong.
1984, I think.
Correct. Got the author right, you got the title right. Right, Kerry, give us book number 2.
For an instant she was silent, with rather sad, downcast eyes. She was about to retort, but something checked the words on her tongue. Inclination prompted her to speak out. Dignity told her to be silent.
More difficult, that one?
Pride and Prejudice?
No,
Trollope.
Irish.
Trollope.
Irish. James Joyce, Ulysses.
Oh, OK.
Kerry, give us one more. It's all we've got time for.
Lysander Hawkley appeared to have everything. At 22, he was tall, broad-shouldered, heart-stoppingly handsome, wildly affectionate, with a wall-to-wall smile that withered women.
Neither of you will have read
Hawkley
this.
was the name, was it? No.
No. No, I don't blame you. I'm going to go. Jilly Cooper, the man who made husbands jealous. Or as we used to call her, Jolly Super. And she is. Stuart, thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
for
Good
having
luck
us.
with the new
Thank you.
series. That's your lot for tonight, folks. That's it.